The Minnesota Timberwolves are coming off one of the best seasons in franchise history, in which they won over 50 games and finished the regular season as one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Interestingly, the Timberwolves were fairly average offensively, but they were absolutely incredible on defense, performing at a historic level on that end of the floor. Today, we're going to break down the Timberwolves' defense and see why their defense is one of the best units we've seen in NBA history. During the 2023 NBA season, no team performed better on defense than the Minnesota Timberwolves. Their defense was statistically the best in the league, ranking number 1 in defensive rating with a mark of 109, meaning they allowed just 109 points per 100 possessions. Their defensive rating was 6.3 points better than the league average, which would rank around the 99th percentile historically. This means that their defense ranked in the top 1% of all defensive units since the early 1970s in terms of how many points they allowed on a per-possession basis. There are many reasons why their defense performed at such a high level during the regular season. The first is their rim protection. The Timberwolves' defense was extremely good at protecting the rim this season, ranking top 5 in blocks per game and top 10 in both the percentage of their opponent's field goal attempts that came around the basket and their opponent's field goal percentage around the basket. This makes sense because they have Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year, locking down the paint, who has a long track record of being an elite rim protector. Having a center like him, as well as a plethora of strong point-of-attack defenders like Anthony Edwards, Jalen McDaniels, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, will allow you to protect the basket at a very high level. The Timberwolves are also very aggressive on defense, and this shows up on film and in their production. Numbers-wise, they ranked 6th in forced turnover rate during the regular season, which makes sense because they love to be aggressive in help defense, and they are very disruptive in passing lanes. They also ranked 7th in defensive rebound rate, and this is crucial because it means they aren't allowing their opponents to grab offensive rebounds, which extend possessions and lead to more scoring opportunities. One of the more underrated parts of their defense is how they limit three-pointers. During the regular season, they ranked 6th in three-point attempts allowed per 100 possessions, a result of strong rotations and effective and controlled closeouts. Sometimes teams will have strong production profiles on defense, but when you take a look under the hood and see how they perform against certain play types, you'll notice some red flags. That isn't the case with the Timberwolves though, whose defense ranked top 3 in points allowed per possession against isolations, pick and roll ball handlers, and spot-ups. Any way you look at it, the Timberwolves had an elite regular season defense with very few weaknesses. Fast forward to the 2024 NBA playoffs, and their defense is still dominating. Through 6 games this postseason, they have a defensive rating of 106.3, which ranks 4th among all playoff teams this year. It's important to consider that they have played 2 teams who had top 10 offenses during the regular season in the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets, so their defensive efficiency is extremely impressive. On top of this, they performed well in the areas in which they shined during the regular season. This includes forcing turnovers, grabbing defensive rebounds, and limiting threes. In the first round, the Minnesota Timberwolves took on the Phoenix Suns, and their defense was great. They held the Suns to just under 112 points per 100 possessions, which is insane considering how much star power the Suns have on offense with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Durant and Booker had an up-and-down series, and Beal really struggled. Outside of these guys, no one else on the team stepped up for the Suns, and Booker and Durant weren't great until Game 4. While the Timberwolves' defense was great in Round 1, it has reached a whole new level in Round 2. The second round is still happening, but the Timberwolves have put together a remarkable display of defensive dominance against the defending champion Denver Nuggets that no one could have possibly expected. Across 2 games this series, the Timberwolves have held the Nuggets to an offensive rating of just 99.2, and the Nuggets have yet to score 100 points. The Timberwolves had a phenomenal defensive performance in Game 2 specifically, in which they held the Nuggets to just 80 points on 34.9% shooting from the field and forced 16 total turnovers. This was a historic performance from the Timberwolves, and that's what it takes to hold Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to just 24 points combined like they did in this game. I'm not sure I've seen a team play better defense than the Minnesota Timberwolves have this season. Their performance on this end of the floor in the regular season and the playoffs has been unbelievably dominant, and they are excelling in pretty much every area. They have great on-ball defenders, they communicate extremely well with defending pick and rolls or making rotations, and they rarely get out of position or make crucial mistakes. This is why their production is so impressive across the board. It's also why they have been able to excel even when they face strong offensive units with elite offensive players. If the Timberwolves keep playing this well defensively, I would not be shocked to see them take down the Nuggets and possibly win the NBA Finals. They are good enough to do that, and their defense is definitely at the level where it can carry this team all the way to a title. The rest of the NBA should be terrified, because the Timberwolves are here, and their defense doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon.